Hey guys, it's Chris from Steeda, and today we have this 2021 Grabber Yellow GT. We're going to take our Steeda ProFlow open lid cold air intake as well as our Steeda Tune, load it up on here, get the intake installed, and show you before and after dyno results and what this thing makes. Without further ado, let's get to it. Kicking things off for this product review, this beautiful ProFlow cold air intake. This thing not only looks good under your hood, but it also performs as well. You get that blue cold air intake that matches that Steeda blue, that open lid that's going to allow to seal against the hood, so you kind of have a closed lid once your hood's shut, and you can keep that hot engine bay air out of your air box and ultimately out of your engine. It does require a tune for installation, so keep that in mind if you were to go with this route. All in all, cold air intakes are good, especially the ones that don't require a tune, but in order to get the maximum out of your cold air intake, you're gonna want a tune to match that, especially with a mass airflow housing this large. And with that comes a velocity stack to help smooth out and speed up that air velocity going into your engine and past the mass airflow sensor. But all in all, installation is pretty easy. We'll show you how to do it and then show you a before and after on the dyno of exactly how much horsepower you can expect to get from this cold air intake from Steeda. First things first, once you get the velocity stack inside the air box, go ahead and take your coupling and get that hose clamp tightened down. After that, grab your air filter and the hose clamp, get that partially tightened down, and ultimately stick that inside the air box and get that tightened down on top of the velocity stack as well. Then you grab the supplied fittings and fit them on the intake tube. Moving on to the factory air box, you want to remove the mass airflow sensor, then loosen the coupling for the factory intake tube to the throttle body, pull the intake tube out. Then you'll move to the factory air box and remove the bolt holding the air box to the fender well. Once you have the air box removed from the car, you can go ahead and remove the mass airflow sensor from the factory air box and transfer it over to the new Steeda intake tube. Once the Steeda air box is firmly in place, go ahead and grab the bolt you use to take out the factory air box and use it to secure the Steeda air box to the fender well. Then you take your supplied silicone coupling, go ahead and secure the coupling to the throttle body as well as a hose clamp. Then you're ready to grab your Steeda air intake tube and secure it in place against the air box and the coupling against the throttle body. Go ahead and hook up the PCV, make sure all your connections are used properly. At this point, you'll either delete the sound tube or go ahead and reuse it. Then after that, go ahead and grab your SCT programmer and get your tune installed. Breaking down the numbers from the Dyno Run, both stock and with the cold air intake and Steeda Tune. I mean, all in all, bone stock in a 6-gear A10 car. Remember, we're doing 6th gear instead of 7th because the 7th you hit the speed limiter and we wouldn't be able to wind that pull all the way out, so that's why we're doing it in 6th. With that said, 377 horsepower max at 6,800 and 359 foot-pounds of torque at 4,700. Now, after the installation of our open lid closed air intake and the Steeda 93 Tune, you're looking at 397 horsepower at 7,000 RPM, a little bit higher than before, and 372 foot-pounds of torque at 4,700 RPM again. Now, the biggest thing that you're gonna feel, now you do see gains all the way across the rev range, but in this particular gear, you can wind it out all the way to what looks to, I guess, 7,800 RPM, which is awesome. Whereas 6th gear with the factory calibration, you know, you're kind of limited to 6,900 RPM, but With the Steeda tune, you're able to wind that out even farther. Now granted, with the factory 2018 intake manifold and the other limitations of the modifications on this car, you are starting to lose some of that horsepower at 7,500. So winding it all the way out, is that really necessary? Probably not, but you can if you need to. Now, the coolest thing about this is that you're gonna see some gains in the mid-range as well. You know, peak numbers are cool, and everyone looks at the peak numbers first, right? But in the mid-range, that's your seat of the pants feeling. That is ultimately what you're gonna feel stoplight to stoplight, not necessarily ringing it out, you know, on the track. So from, you know, 2,500 to 35 to 4 to 45, I mean, those are very noticeable gains in the horsepower curve and torque curve, specifically that torque curve. I mean, all in all, you really aren't gonna be disappointed. Now, this particular intake does require a tune due to the larger size of the mass airflow housing, which frankly, if you're getting a cold air intake, you might as well get a tune to fully benefit from the fact that you're adding an intake with that larger mass airflow housing to your car. There are intakes out there, including some of our Steeda intakes, that do have an insert or a smaller mass airflow housing that are within the factory calibration limits. You can add the intake, you are going to get some benefit, but in order to really benefit from adding a cold air intake to your car with that larger housing, you're definitely going to want to get a tune to back it up. That about wraps things up. Go ahead and comment below. Let us know what you think about the gains from this Steeda ProFlow open lid cold air intake, as well as our 93 tune. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, that notification bell, so you get a notification on your phone next time a Steeda video drops. And don't forget the most important thing, speed matters.